Mike Reese. Mike Sampson. Yeah. Sadie.
Yeah.
And Karen.
Here.
All right. Mike sent around the minutes from October 17th. Everybody had a chance to take a look at them? Okay, a motion to accept them?
Moved.
Sal and Mike will second it. Any discussion on the meetings? Minutes? No? No changes? All right. All in favor of accepting the minutes as written, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And I'll abstain because I was not here. And Sadie, you weren't either, right? Well, we'll jump right to it. Amy, I'll give the floor to you for the library. And that's on this budget worksheet. Carrie Ann passed out the updated one that starts, it looks like on page 20. Bottom of page 20.
I have the same thing that, Mary Ann has handed out, but it also includes our, anticipated revenue and then also our, vital. I haven't met everyone here before. My name is Amy Thurber. I'm the library director here. And I'm sharing with you folks tonight a copy of our vital statistics, prepared in September, and then parts of it are, extrapolated out for you worth of information. So that kind of where the circulation figures are, that's where that comes in. The change, we've got one change to our budget for this year over last year. You're welcome. Where we're asking for a small increase to our audio and video line. One of the, services we offer is downloadable audiobooks and ebooks that patrons can, use. And the cost of that is going up, for this coming year. That's a program that we subscribe through the state library for. And so there's a little increase to that coming up. And then we also started a very small video game collection this year for folks to check out. And so a small part of that increase would be to add a few more games to that collection. There's also other changes to the budget, but they, I'm sure if folks have seen in other departments, are just those changes that have been made to electricity and water and those things getting moved into the specific. Oh my gosh, I have the exact amount. Into each department, you're welcome. Yeah. I'm happy to answer any questions. What you can see on the budget sheet that I handed out shows our anticipated revenues that come from the towns of Dorchester and Orange. We also receive funds from a foundation to help offset the cost of non-residents using the library. The towns of Enfield and Grafton have reciprocal borrowing with people who live in Canaan. So if you live in our town, you can get cards, use their libraries as well. What else is exciting? What I wanted to highlight was the Friends of the Library and what they offer as support to the library. They provide Wi-Fi hotspots. We added those last year, I think, and they've been of great use to tons of folks. And that's something the Friends purchase those devices and then pay $600 a year to keep those running. They also give the library $1,200 a year for our museum pass program. We have 8 passes that people can check out and use. This last year, they started to help us, well, not help us, they pay $700 a year for our digital New York Times subscription. And this year, they've increased their donation to help us buy more books to give away at Christmas in Canaan, so that's $750 they're giving us this year, which gets added in to the trustees have that they also put in for us to purchase books. So at Christmas in Canaan, kids like 0 through high school, we have books that we give out to any of those kids who come and see us at the library. Other things that Friends have done for us this year, which is new, is they've offered workshops free of charge for folks to come do. And so we've had a terrarium making workshop, book making workshop, and we'll soon be doing a wreath making workshop, all thanks to them and free of charge to the library. We appreciate them so much for these types of things, but also they come and volunteer at book sale and Christmas in Canaan and other events. So thanks to the Friends for all of their support, in addition to what the town offers the library and the budget. Yeah. Questions? Yeah,
You have a digital, New York Times
we do.
available to us?
Yep,
Okay, no cost?
no cost. So go to the library's website and there's, I think it's under online program, and you click there, there's a code you redeem every day. So you have 24-hour access to that day's paper. Unfortunately, cooking and games cost more and are separate. We don't have those. So those, but
I like to eat, but not that.
yeah.
Oh, so you
Works in
can
there
just
now.
hit it on,
Yeah.
wow, you don't have to come to the library.
No, you do it at home.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
just click there.
Yeah, I did already.
Yeah.
Already.
You how, can you monitor how many people in town read the New York Times?
No, I can monitor how many people go to that website, that page on my website, but then I can't kind of see past that.
But people go to it.
Yeah.
And so the new site. We provide that kind of feedback. Arguably.
The library's website is a different website than what the town.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
We have, at this point, we've always been doing our own, so I maintain the website myself and use WordPress to do that.
So how? So sites are all about data trafficking and click-throughs and so forth like that, so.
Yeah.
You use that too?
I can, I would need to do it in a different way,
How much does that cost?
data tracking.
No, that sites.
The site, it's however much it costs me to have a website address, so,
It's just personal. Sure.
nope,
WordPress is a discount version.
I get that, but
Yeah.
There's nothing to, so the domain doesn't cost anything?
no, it does, I would have to look, I would have to go in and look.
That should be.
We pay $400 a year for someone to manage our website address and buy the subscription or however that works, so under $400.
And that's on the line item on the budget,
That
that's
is,
included. Under internet,
it is currently under contracted services.
okay.
Yeah.
The line with 22,000 for books, what is that?
That's for books.
You buy new books.
Yep, so that's buying new books, and that's also part of the cost for the downloadable book program for the state library.
Question?
Yeah.
Electric, is this just through right now? We still have one more month left? And do we really expect that it will go down next year?
That is a question for Carrie Ann. So this is the first year we've had those figures in our budget, so I don't know the answer. That was what we paid last year.
The 2024 actual you're asking about,
Yeah,
that's for, the actual is 10 months, we still have to pay November and December.
Okay, so do we think 2,600 is realistic expectation for next year? It doesn't seem like the cost of anything ever decreases. Oh, Mr. Rogers. I'm just asking.
Well, we only spent 2,200 so far. I can look into it further.
Oh,
This is-
so 3,500 is not what's been expended in 10 months. It's.
No, that's what was.
It says
Actual,
that was a budget item instead of an actual.
It's a budget item over here.
Actual
Okay.
budget.
In 2024, we put the budget amount and the actual amount, where the previous years are only showing the actuals.
Okay, that makes sense. Sorry, Carrie Ann. I thought that was what you had expended. I wasn't looking at this other pocket. But that's-
Correct me if I'm wrong, but you've drilled down and really narrowed down exactly what people are paying, that's what portion they should be paying, right?
Yeah, the library has its separate meter. We have 27 Liberty accounts.
Yes.
We should get a discount for that. Didn't we?
Any other questions for Amy?
You know, I guess my only question would be, how do you make up your $16,000 deficit? How do we make up that?
Well, I think what you're seeing is that those are figures that have existed in other parts of the budget, and they've just been moved into ours this year.
No, I
Is that
understand,
correct?
sure.
Yeah.
But you're expected to expend 216 and you only have 200 in revenue.
No,
No?
The,
it's 216 is the expenses and the revenue is 16.3 and the net ask is 477.
An increase of 20 grand.
Yes, but that's, a lot of that stuff is the move over.
What else? Besides electricity and move over?
hardware, software, support,
Almost 10,000.
phone and internet.
I think that's a big one.
Custodial services.
That was previously in other parts.
And the budget that just got passed out today, Primex, the property and liability insurance, gave us a calculator that breaks out by department, our property and liability, so that's currently being split out into the departments.
And the other large item was the custodial services. Which was.
Yeah, I understand all that, but I get where there's a slight discrepancy in the cost, but we're expecting to spend 216,773, but on your sheet, it's a little different. It's 885, it doesn't matter. Now you're telling me we're gonna pull in 163,000 from
No,
these sources.
16,300.
I'm sorry?
16,300.
Oh, 16,300, yeah. I'm not, my bad.
They saving money, they weren't doing
That's good. And they're asking, you're only asking for 200?
Correct.
Right, because we pull in that revenue and we use that.
I got it.
My understanding is that they have to, in this document, it says 216, it's gotta be gross budgeted.
Right,
So they gotta have the 216 in there and then pull the 16.3 into the revenue side.
got it. Now I understand. Thank you very much. for
What are you
clarifying.
doing for maintenance, for custodial these days?
Um,
Is it a service or contract?
it's the same person The same company's been doing it, and we're trying to increase her frequency and to do deep cleans every quarter.
I haven't looked yet, but it looks like it's all over the place. You got it for like the museum and the meeting house.
Yeah, she broke out her ratio of time that she spends cleaning all the different locations. So I just put that ratio into each invoice that comes in. And then when she's supplying people with or supplying departments with cleaning products, she tells me what department to charge it to. So she has been starting to break out her invoices.
You doing all of the things for the town?
Here's a hope. She has a helper.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, but it's her business.
Mike, you mentioned the museum, but she doesn't clean the museum.
It does in the budget.
Where's that? Which one?
I think I'm somewhere in the budget for the museum.
She said she cleans the bathrooms.
Bathrooms, yeah.
So that's really the beach.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's the beach.
Right, you're through.
Any other questions? Thank you, Amy.
Yeah, thanks very much, folks.
All right, next up. You see the trust funds. Cindy?
Yeah.
What you had before, I think, I was looking, but it looks like that's page 3 here.
Yeah, this is a little different format. than
Yeah.
what's Seeing, so, typically, our budget is simply down to clerk stipend, which shows up here. Under salary, and then the Medicare, and the only thing I was going to ask the committee for was allocate $200. In the event that there's a training opportunity for the two new trustee trustees.
And currently, it looks like we have 100 being asked for in there, is that right? Under little 390 next to it.
I don't know.
Let's see. Go on.
It's 100.
It's $100 right now, right?
Yeah, under training, 390, right,
So you'd want it to be 200?
Yeah.
So your ask is to modify that to be 200?
and then. The legal is just at $1 and keep that line item open, I guess. And I
So
would
we'll put
ask,
$1 back in?
We can do that at the tail end, just
Yeah.
dial it off once there's a.
Yeah, just throughout the whole budget.
and is the administrative support an allocation of Carrie Ann's?
No, I think there was just an hour got coded to the wrong account.
Oh, so that has nothing to
These are all
do.
zeros.
Yeah,
What
that
is
was-
this $8,500?
Those are the 2022 actuals, so I think that was back when the previous person was here actually working and that, and then they left, so nobody's been working in it since. So they combined that under the town manager's 4130 department. So that's going away because we're not gonna fill that position anymore.
Okay, so. The trustee of trust funds just really are the stipend and the miscellaneous expense, right?
Correct.
Yeah, okay,
And the trains.
yeah. The bulk of, the trustee of trust funds holds, I think it's like $3.7 million of funds in management account through Bar Harbor Wealth Management. The fee for those services, which include investment management, bookkeeping, and preparation of our state report, are paid for as a direct charge against the income of those funds. At first, it's allowable by the state statute. So that's why those figures don't show up here. They charge 60 basis points for that all encompassing fee, and we have very good relationship with those investment managers over a number of years, and that fee is extremely competitive for managing portfolio. Yes,
I'm lost. I'm sorry. You said there's usually a stipend, my recollection is that there is a stipend, but I don't see it.
It's like 700 and some
Looks
dollars.
like it was moved over, right, that was moved under administrative.
Yeah, all the elected people got consolidated into the,
What line,
the wage lines. We only have 3 wage lines.
what line,
4150, 10,
41, 50, and, well,
130, right? Elected officials.
Page 2, near the
Correct.
bottom.
oh,
Is there a number for?
Sure. Part of that,
125?
8,000.
Yeah, and where it got moved to, yes. What do you want to put the?
well,
It doesn't pay.
I'm sorry, but what, that's a, you know, so what is included in that 8319? Who, I mean, what positions?
That is the trustee of the trust fund, the treasurer, and the assistant treasurer.
All three, right?
All 3 of them.
What's the breakout on those?
The trustee of the trust fund is 1,000. The treasurer is 6,700, and the assistant treasurer is 1,000. And that's been updated from the conversation about increasing the elected official pays. So we looked at just doing $1,000 minimum for any elected official. From the moderator conversation weeks ago.
There's something in this?
No, I think you were here.
$1,000 minimum?
We talked about.
Yeah, we did.
We talked about,
Here's the new.
Yeah, but it's 83 and not, you just rattled off 3 of them at 7,700,
67, 7, and plus 1,000, plus 1,000.
57,000 and 1,000.
67,
67,
That's our,
Okay.
our BC line there, 870176.
So the trustee of trust fund stipend is not broken out separately.
No.
Okay, so that's why it went from that 796 to 0.
Right.
Correct.
Okay.
And it all falls under the finance, the 4150, so it's all,
67,000 and 1,000 is 8,700.
Yeah, we need to look you over.
And our budget committee, we're gonna give them the 87,1, but the ask is small, right? Department ask.
This is indicate that we've already approved this whole thing.
So why, what's the difference?
We haven't approved that.
So why is it like that?
Yeah.
Hello. I could.
Matt
Okay,
doesn't stand to work.
so the budget, the department ask is 8319. You just rattled off 3 numbers at 8,700.
what account are you asking about?
Same line,
Same line.
130.
Haven't gone
The
on.
numbers just don't seem to add.
So Nate, you said that at a meeting, the budget committee discussed.
I think it was with regard to the moderator.
Yeah,
We got
that's
a
what
raise.
started the conversation.
And I think we talked about, we have to look back at the minutes, but I believe we said Shealy's getting 1,000 and then. Yeah, and then it was to all the, Yeah.
Gotcha.
so that also includes, doesn't add up because there was a raise for the moderator and also trustee, the treasurer,
The assistant treasurer.
assistant treasurer.
Because that's why I went from 8319 to 87 because of that change that this committee made.
I hear you. So, okay.
The 176 is because it's a nice day.
Exactly.
And in the handouts. from the
Everybody was
previous-
generous that day.
In the handouts from the previous meeting, I included, for those positions, what other towns are paying.
Oh, no, I saw all that. Yeah,
Okay.
I remember that. Yeah. Right, but I guess the question is why the $1.76, right? Like, that's just relevant.
Well, that was-
We're not gonna go back.
It's a slush fund.
That's currently what the treasurer is making, because one of the COLAs along the year, it's not a flat dollar amount.
It's a sandwich.
Gotcha.
Any other questions? Cindy? Thank you, Cindy.
Cindy, thank you.
And thanks for the effort. I mean, it's a big responsibility.
No kidding.
I have health insurance on here, but I don't, are we ready for that yet, or is that not, those numbers not in?
We have our finalized numbers. We got health insurance, dental, life insurance, and then everything from Primex is finalized. So everything's reflected in the budget.
Okay, good.
I saw that there was 5% for the dental, is the other, are the other two in the thing? You see the Primex.
There it is, under.
Where's another? If it's, can you tell us what it is not on this? Sheet, it's got the summary of the changes. The dental is and the Primex is, but not the.
Medical was the last one that I passed out a few weeks ago. And yeah, the medical came in at 12.5% increase.
12.5.
You spread these over all the departments, right?
Yep,
And, did we finally get, we're missing a building. Right next to the property insurance, did we get it in there?
It's being put in there now.
Also. what
But
we're seeing here
but
is-
this number is still, the way they said it, like, it's gonna be okay. Because it's not gonna change it much, if it changes it at all. But,
it won't change till next year.
right,
Okay,
Our rates are
because we're
set.
just, our rates are set right now.
good stall.
Well, it's one of those things that, you know, just like they said, I said, well, you know, I said, the numbers seem to be really low for how they're. Valuing, they said, they have a group do the estimates, and they're responsible, if we have a total loss, they're gonna do replacement, so it doesn't really matter what they call it.
Yeah.
So, that's a good thing,
But we got all the buildings and property in there.
that's, yes.
Next up is Budget committee. And it looks like. This year, it looks like this year, or sorry, 2023, it was 3,900, 2024 budget was 4,000. And we're keeping that another, I guess, that's you, basically, right?
Yeah, we increased our rates exorbitantly this year. I must have been responsible for the inflation rate and came.
At least we know where to hang the blade now.
Page 3.
I did work it out, include the penalty for the 7 o'clock meeting.
What?
I didn't include the penalty for the.
The last line actually, the last one was put it up, wait.
Yeah, I think it's 12.8%, but I didn't do anything this year.
Yeah.
Maybe last year.
That was last year.
So increase. That I'm the only expense we put in here.
Well, what?
I just don't want to do the same. Stanley retired.
Oh, that's good.
They keep pulling me back.
Stole that from a movie.
So as Mike indicated, it's a light agenda tonight. I had originally had multiple nights for highway and mechanic based on last year's experience, but apparently I wasn't here last meeting, but it seems like it was fairly straightforward and that there was no desire for them to come back this week.
Maybe though before we're done.
Maybe before we're done.
Yeah, because a lot of the
We
increase
got
is still on.
a lot of expense.
I think when we have our discussion related to capital,
Mhm.
that will explain a lot.
Okay.
And the reason is, like, things that are currently in the capital budget, I mean, in the budget for like paving, let's say, for example. Well, ultimately, we're gonna recommend that we create a reserve account for that. That money will just be asked to be moved out from one to the other, so it's not gonna, it's gonna work a little differently. So that's a conversation I'll lend to itself.
I have 7 lines that I questions if there were highway out of 35.
Right. So and we did, for what you were just handed, most of that's all the extraneous duplication and a couple of other things have been modified already. So that's why that budget went down like 70 or 80,000 already. And then there'll be the conversation about the transfers.
Well, I thought, so you passed out the summary revisions. And are these revisions that were discussed at last meeting, or are these just new information that you wanted to give us as far as changes?
Both, yes,
Okay.
from last meeting and the quotes that came in since then, and the changes from the CIP. So we're just summarizing as we're going through the budget process on all fronts. We're just keeping track of the major changes every week.
This gives us a snapshot at where we are today.
Yep.
If someone were cold, this would be.
Yeah, when you go through this, you should see the result of this.
So since we have time, if everybody's looked at this, does anybody have any questions about some of these items here?
I have a question about the management for emergency management, fire and ambulance. Is that all resolved at this point in time
Currently, we have an interim fire chief, which is Bill Bellinger.
for next year? I don't care what we got now.
Well, it's resolved in the context of there's gonna be a ballot article asking to create a full-time fire chief position, which will actually change the RSA from a volunteer with recommendations to a town employee. So that will be on the ballot, that piece of it. Right now, it's budgeted.
Gonna be on there?
The additional cost, 88,000.
And that is not in this draft, or is in the draft we got tonight?
It's not in because it's gonna be added as a warrant article.
So it'll be for $80,000.
Yes.
Have we drafted any of the warrant articles yet?
Just started doing that.
Yeah.
So. Hopefully we'll, if we don't have them all drafted by the next meeting, we will have an explanation of what's coming. Type of a thing. I'm creating a list with all the bullet points of what they have to do and then drawing them up.
And obviously, any that are drafted, you'll have.
Yeah, because the issue, like with there's a couple of things that have some corrections that need to be done on them and there's a bunch of different things, so.
Work in process.
I have a question, on what you said. Say that in the highway department, say road repair, and you wanna put it into
A new reserve
a
account.
new, but the funds have to be raised through taxes, right, to go into the,
Correct.
correct, okay.
Good,
yes.
and that's why in the past, there was no reserve account in the past, so it's in the operating budget, and
Right.
then, so what it'll be is, it would be in the operating budget.
Right,
And then when we ask to transfer to the reserve account, there would be zero tax implication, you're just moving from one to the other.
You're sure you can only going to do
Well, that's what we're gonna find out,
it? Oh,
because the other issue is, the other way to,
we were, we couldn't do it 3 times.
Well-
Yeah,
asking the question,
okay.
with trying to look at it a different way, because it just means, can you finance, and some kind, I can't believe you can't. But the
I
issue
can
becomes
believe
like,
it.
and I'll use the paving as an example. Or no, actually, I'll use the highway equipment as an example. We have the $169,000 lease that we're gonna start paying. Okay, the capital budget is put together a budget of what the appropriation should be to have a long-term successful. Capital equipment budget, I believe it's $332,000 a year. But that $169,000 would be paid out of that. So that's the goal, so it would not increase the taxes by itself, it will be covered, let equipment take care of itself. So this will be all part of the explanation when we do the CIP, which I think is December 5th.
So a chunk of the increase, the huge increase overall in the documents we're working with. But a chunk of that increase is going to be moving money from general fund into the reserves.
Yes, so that $169,000 won't be technically an item in here.
If you haven't had the discussion with DRA, let me share with you what their response was 3
Mhm.
times in a row. They said, the law clearly requires that the public is the one that's supposed to vote on increases on payments. into the capital reserves. So, okay, but that's done because it's appropriated by the voters in the general fund. And they said, no, the gross appropriation is appropriated by the voters in the general fund. Therefore, it does not constitute an appropriation by the voters into the capital reserve. So be prepared for that.
Oh, no, it's a double whammy.
It's a logic problem. The
Right.
syllogism doesn't work for us.
Yeah, no, we're gonna investigate it, but what I will tell you is, if it's a procedural issue like that. And we have $400,000, which is in the current budget, moved into the next budget for paving. If we have $169,000 that's estimated in the gross program, it would then be subtracted from the appropriation net anyway, so it's gonna work out to the same thing, it's a process issue. That we're gonna try and clear up. Either way, it's gonna work the same way. So the goal is that we would be able, if you're talking about any of the capital items, if we use. In the case with some things to do some catch up where it's a really big project, we can use financing without creating a whole new expense line. That's one of the goals. Because we have some issues with some areas that. It's gonna take a pretty large chunk of money to catch up, and we may not be able to do everything with cash. And given the most recent bond issue for a 10-year note was 3.19, it's not. Cost prohibitive.
A couple of comments. The first comment is. that I spent a fair amount of time this past weekend going through the budget. And this significant increase, and it changed this now by about 2%, because of what you just said, but. Last year, I warned. You weren't here, but I warned the administrator that it was a 25% increase in taxes. And it would have been a 40% increase in taxes if we had used the unassigned fund balance and capital reserves. And I just want to point out that the tax increase you sent out was a 25% increase in taxes. And the logic is not the same as what was applied last year. Last year, the logic was, if the budget goes up 15%, it's a 15% increase in taxes. And that's not true, because if the revenue that's non-tax revenue is flat and the budget goes up 15% overall, I mean, you're going to be raising tax. I'm not lecturing you, I'm just lecturing us as a group. That it's really gonna be a function of what does it do to the tax rate, not so much what the total budget is. The total budget will generate a greater demand on the tax rate if the revenues, the rest of the revenues are flat. And the reason I'm raising it is because you got the same issue this year. So I don't know what we're doing on the CIP program and the funding the capital reserves, but it all goes to taxes. I mean, I can tell you that based on where we are right now, at least as of this afternoon, I looked at it again for the last time. It won't be exactly the same because of the capital reserves, but so I can go off the top of my head. The bottom line was like $1.2 million of increase in just the general fund.
What was that?
Right. But that's,
Well, right now it's 450,000 over last year on expense,
okay, so.
and that's gonna go
I
down
can
too.
share with you my logic, okay? You can tell me it's wrong, and I'll be happy to believe it. I'm hoping you're right. But if you look at. Well, you're not going to, I can't find it on the. Oh, yeah, there it is, never mind. Yeah, there it is. So, on page. The one you got the last meeting. And on page 20 of that, it shows in the general fund 01, last year's actual, last year's budget was $5,659,000, but that included the CIP stuff. So I subtract that out, the 500,000 above it, and it comes out to $5,159,000. That's what the general fund budget without appropriations, separate appropriations, was 5,159,000. So then you go over, I've been working off of the town administrator's column. And the town administrator's column was 6,951,000 for the proposed budget. Compared to 5,659,000. But again, it's got the capital reserves in it, so I pulled those back out and I brought it down to 6,280,000. So on the town administrator's budget, it's asking for 6,280,000. Last year's was 5,159,000, it was approved. That's an increase of 1,121,000. Now, part of that goes away because of the transfers. I can see it. I saw 335,000 in transfers.
Right.
But that still brings it down to a $786,000 increase.
Well, the issue that doesn't take into account
Yeah.
is the fact that there's 350 or something $1,000 that were approved in last year's warrant articles. So that is the comparison that I'm saying, when we have 450,000, it's over the tax bill that just went out, over the expense now, not what the 2024 budget was. It was what's the current budget.
When you say that, you mean the current expenditures to date, or do you mean the current budget?
The current, if you look, after you put the capital warrant articles in from last March.
I took them out.
But you didn't take, that doesn't show the increase because they're not in here.
Well, I'm saying.
So I'm just saying, this is gonna be a good discussion for the revenue
We'll
side.
Get to it. That's.
Yeah,
I-
and
I-
that's a revenue
I
conversation.
don't wanna go through it tonight.
Right, but no, I agree, I understand where you're going, and I think we're gonna be okay.
Okay,
I think we're gonna be pleasantly surprised. How's that?
I see I can get a lot from my mobile home if I want to, so. Only kidding, I'm not going.
Right.
I have a machine gun stuff.
My son always said when he was like a teenager, he goes, "We actually just have a trailer with a big garage and a turret on the top."
Well, I got a big shed with a turret.
Move to you, Tom. Carrie Ann, can you help me understand? I'm on the back page, 26. So when we start over at 2024 actual. Can you tell me why those numbers are different numbers across the bottom there?
It's including the water, sewer, and ambulance, which are all outside funds, and that's just, the software is gonna total everything that's included on the report. So if you wanna see the general fund total, you would have to go up to the bottom of all the O1 accounts, and it'll give you a total of all the O1 accounts. Or if you're looking at the very last page, that's telling you what all the accounts in the entire budget software.
And there's 3 enterprise funds in there.
Okay, but
CEMS is an enterprise fund, water and sewer is an enterprise fund, library. It's mostly in the general fund, so.
remind me what BOS is?
Board of Selectmen. So the budget went through drafts. So back in July, we asked the department heads to send in what they think they're gonna need for 2025, and that's the department head total. And then we submitted it to Chet, and then he made changes. And then that's the TA town administrator budget.
Okay.
And then we presented that budget to the select board,
Gotcha.
and they made a couple changes. And then, so we're basically keeping snapshots in time of the revisions that it went through. And then the department, town admin, and select board are locked out, and now we're just making changes to the budget committee.
So if I read this right, then I'm reading that we get like a 2.7 million increase from last year in total.
No,
If you include water, sewer, and.
So I see
ambulance.
5609 from 24. And I see, it's like the low one, 8248. For 25.
Yeah, and that's including, so that's taking the general fund, the library, water, sewer, and ambulance, and adding everything together. All the money that we're planning to spend.
So is that, no, Chet, that, you said that's not the difference?
Well, no, because those are not tax funds. The three enterprise funds do not, well, except AMS gets 185,000. But they're not funds that you raise taxes for the expenses.
Likewise,
They're paid for by the users.
it's a bizarre system, but it's a legal system. It is not counted
I don't
as.
see why we have that line of numbers if there's
Oh,
that
but
much of
that's
a
all.
discrepancy.
That's the difference.
It's in the software. It isn't, it should not be appearing, well, it would, it would be appearing one of this.
It just adds confusion to me, so it appears that that's the difference, but that's not the difference, but you can't tell what.
Carrying out
the
the
difference
origin.
No, it's not garbage.
Just scratched out. But it's really just telling what all 5 funds total, what activity there's gonna be. Cause water and sewer have its own revenue to offset its expenses. Ambulance, the town contributes that 185, and
So
with
once-
that 185,000,
Once you combine revenue, then we'll see it change,
No,
right?
no,
Is that in the system?
I'll be happy to talk to you about it, but that's not how it works.
Well, the big difference is just in the ambulance line, right? So if you look above the 4215 ambulance.
Yeah.
You can see a giant increase from 2024 to 2025.
And that's because,
All I'm getting is if there's a bottom line, it's not the bottom.
But what's happened is the ambulance has gone big time. They got more people, and more customers,
I got that.
more ambulances.
Yeah.
So their business has grown from, 470 million to, 563
total.
thousand to 722,000.
Actually, over the last 2 years, it's grown from 300,000 dollar amount, so it's grown a lot.
Yeah.
It's all the private transport.
if you wanna see the.
Tracking with that.
The total for the general fund is on page 20.
Or total vehicle ones.
But again, that includes all the warrant articles for all the capital reserve. That's why I did a separate one. If you take that out, in other words, the ones she's referring to on the bottom of page 20. It says general fund 01, and it's down about that level there, okay? If you have to subtract out the warrant articles just above it, the line immediately above it, and that'll give you what is in the general fund budget. It's included in a single warrant article. for the general. And that's the one I was referring to, and it said that's 25% increase.
Right.
Another quick question, I've got a bunch of questions about the budget overall, but this one baffles me, and I think it's just a mistake, and maybe if we could fix it, we wouldn't hurt. It's under the sewer system. It's under retirement under the sewer system, I think. I'm going off the top of my head. Bear with me.
No, it's just 58.
$58,000 for retirement, is Coffee retiring or a bonus or something?
John does it.
The town administrator went 58, yeah.
Yeah, I think I caught the mistake, and then if you look at the budget committee line, that's what's currently in the software, the 7,900 retirement.
The last
So
column.
that's been fixed?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Again, I did my homework on last time. Just got this.
Anybody else have any other business they'd like to discuss this evening? Entertain a motion to adjourn? I move. I'll second it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, everyone. Our next meeting is 2 weeks.
The 21st, yeah.
21st.
2 weeks from